The Honourable Steve Chadwick.
Mr Speaker, that was a wonderful expose from the Minister of Justice and quite accurate. And I was on the Health Select Committee with Dr Paul Hutchison at the time that we passed the Human-Assisted Reproduction Technology Bill. Yes, those were the days, Dr Hutchison. Those were the days indeed, Dr Paul. And I do just want to acknowledge here Di Yates, who's no longer a Member of Parliament. This was her member's bill. And prior to the passing of this bill in 2004, there was no regulation about human-assisted reproduction technology bill. And I think it's interesting for us to now look in 2010 that about 15% of couples in New Zealand have difficulty in conceiving a child, and about 5% of couples have in vitro fertilisation treatment. I can remember managing a women's health service when we used to have obstetricians that went out and got fresh samples of sperm, used those in their clinic rooms for putting those into women to hope and pray that they'd conceive a child. There was no regulation, there was no record keeping, there was no management around the information from where that sperm came for the donation to that woman, and that is only in my days of 1990. So we've moved a long way in 2010 in 20 years. And I think it was a remarkably good bill, and Di Yates worked with doctors in the field who were our advisors on this bill, and we got it remarkably correct at the time. I think Heather Roy was also on the committee at that time. And we worked in a very constructive way together, but there is, of course, no way that you always get it all right. Our intention was that you had a gamete stored, and of course we thought it was 10 years from the date of storage. We thought we had that sorted at the time, and it really is, as the Minister said, just legal advice back to the Crown that this was an area that just needed clarification technically. So Labor does support this bill. I think the issues of human-assisted reproductive technology bill require, I think there should have been a sunset clause and a revision clause in the bill anyway, because the technology moves very fast, and we're not sure that we got it all right in 2004. And I think it's very, in any bill that involves an element of science and technology, we ought to be looking at that bill again to see that its implementation is a reflection of the intention at the time of the committee, and then reflects new science, new evidence that comes before the committee. So this is a very good bill. I think the 6-month grace just makes sense, that those working in the field of assisted human reproduction technology don't like having to face destruction of gametes, but you can often not find the donor parent or those that are hopeful to use the egg, and also the new influence that comes in now internationally. There are many infertile women that have chosen donor gamete from Australia or America or the UK. And so the provision in this bill to look outside of New Zealand to make sure that we're not using expired gametes is a very, very wise move to look at the international example. The bill, when it came in, was seen as world-leading, actually. And to think, I've mentioned Di Yates, and to think that this is one of the own, other than a couple of technical amendments about the advisory and the ethics committee and their scope in terms of advice to the Minister. I think we've got it remarkably right. I think it's simply astounding that 6 years later all we're looking at is this amendment which just clarifies something that we didn't make clearly enough in the bill. We support this bill, and also I think it's interesting that if there were only 8 submissions, that's astonishing considering the length of time we took on the committee prior to its passing in 2004. So Labor unanimously supports this bill, and I hope it helps those working in this field and also prospective parents to be confident that we've addressed their issue of clarification.